kind of a massive correction all of a sudden in idle. That was not there a second ago. Pop the hose off. That's what that is. Well, that's bizarre. 20% correction in idle. Just moments ago, it was 1. So why did it change? What changed? Huh. Church that was high. It's all good there. It's all good there. Interesting. Alright, let me bring my chat window here real quick. Hello, Jim. Alright, I got chats now, I can see. Alright. Hi, Jim, how's it going? Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to figure out why my screen is frozen. There it goes. Alright. Now I'm trying to figure out why all of a sudden I have a big 20% fuel trim at idle. I didn't have that earlier, so that's a bit of a concern. All I did was turn off long-term fuel trims, but I don't think I looked at the long-term fuel trim table and I thought that it did not have a 20% learn. I thought it had very small learning values in there, but maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it. It should still be here. Let's see. Oh, there it is right there. So I did have 10% here at idle. Well, that's not 20, but that is a trim. That's one cool thing with the link is that as long as you don't say yes, make them all 0, then it'll still be there if you bring the tail back up again, for the most part. Some things aren't quite like that, but apparently I had 10 before. Alright, so you don't want to run with long-term fuel trims if you're tuning. So, there we go, okay. I like the wideband, give me short-term to help figure out how far off I am, but I don't want to have long-term. Now, what's interesting about this spot right here is that this car has big cams in it, and the VE on this motor is giving me pretty low. Hey, Sean! Sean made it. Sean almost never makes a live stream. What are you doing today, buddy? Oops. That's the secret to power right there. See that screen? Plus, 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 plus. That's the secret to power. The more of those, the better. But this one said invalid, so apparently I have too many pluses in there. So that sucks. I can't hit that button. I gotta do it the hard way. Alright, so we're gonna add fuel to this biatch. Now it was 50, so 10% would be 5, which would make it 55. We went higher than that, right? So I went to 58.5, which is like 15% or so. And we can see now that the air-fuel ratios came in a lot closer than they were. This one is higher for some reason. I don't want that. This one should be higher up here. These guys really should be a little higher like this. And that one should be lower right about there. Somewhere in that range right now. So we're seeing some swings of AFR. Now what's interesting about that is that my closed loop lambda, you can see it's bounced up and down like 1 to 2% or so. And it's causing pretty significant sways in the lambda feed. So is it actually that or is it the engine? What's up, dude?
Nothing, I didn't realize you were live.
That's okay.
I was coming back to talk shit on people, but then I saw you on the YouTube.
You talk shit about who?
I can't say it's live. There's millions of viewers right there, and this
All,
is forever recorded.
All four?
Yeah.
All four of us? You can't share the shit talking?
Yeah, I don't want to do it.
Oh, okay. Alright.
I'll tell you later in private, though.
Alright.
It's probably one of your viewers.
Oh, yeah? No, probably not. I had someone message me out of the blue asking me why I did some things in the tune that I did for a guy in like 5 minutes yesterday, helping him with this thing, and some guy started sending me all these messages. So why'd you do this and why'd you do that? I think that's excessive. I don't know why you did that. It doesn't make sense why you did this. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First off, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck is this guy that's asked me, and why are you looking at a tune I did yesterday, you know, for somebody else? And I was pretty fucking irritated. And then he's like, I'm so-and-so from this place. I helped him before. I was like, oh, well, you have no fucking grounds to critique my work because this shit you left on the ZC was fucking trash. Well, you know, I couldn't do extra wide because when I'm like, well, you know what? This shit that you could do without that was all fucked up. So don't fucking come at me. Like, fuck out of here with that shit. I didn't ask for your fucking input. So, anyways, Blaine said, he goes, I've learned that you just don't tell Dominic what to do. I said, I don't take orders from anybody anymore. This clutch has got, something's fucked up. The release bearing feels fucked up on it. It's a brand new clutch, but it's got a good vibration to it. I think when the fingers on the pressure plate might be shitty or something. It doesn't feel right. That's a bummer. Anyway, so today what I'm doing here is, this is actually Craig's old RS. This is the old MPS RS, the silver one. It even says MPS here on the shift knob. We had that done a long time ago. It's got MPS on the brakes. And this was a car that I found at a place in Tacoma under about an inch of dust. That's an exaggeration. It was a quarter inch of dust in a shop where it had been sitting for like 10 fucking years, right? And, well, you don't know. I'm telling you. It was like 10 years. Or not quite that much, but it was a bit. Because we got this car in 2009, and it was a 2000. And it had like 10,000 miles on it. It was like nothing. And they had started to do a build on it, and they had given up hope and stopped. And so I found it. We bought it off the guy. The build was horrendously bad. I mean, it had some cool parts in it here and there, but the person that put it together didn't know where things went, and they plumbed the coolant into the fuel lines, things like that. Like, it was really, really, really bad. And we did a full thing on it. Now it's got a 6-speed in it, and you know, just a bunch of stuff like that. Now it's got a 2.3 liter in it because, oh, so anyways, we sold it in 2013, I think it was, 12 or 13. And, hello, she's so cute. We sold it in 2013 to a guy that I tried to talk out of it. I was like, dude, you don't want this car, man. This car's more than you want. It's too much for you. And he's like, no, this is what I want. I go, look, dude, I get it. It's a sweet car. We worked on it really hard and made a really nice car, but I don't think it really fits with what you want. And he was convinced that it was. And then within a week, he called us up, can you give it back? And we were like, no, you can't. I told you it probably wasn't going to be the one. We don't want the car back. You don't get your money back. It's final. You need to sell it. So he sold it to a guy, and the guy that bought it from him, I believe, is the current owner. And he's had it for quite some time now. Anyways, it was a 2.5 liter with chambered 205 heads. Nothing fancy. Some 199E cams in it, which give a little bit of lope at idle. They got, you know, they're decent sized cam. No ABCS, right? So we're getting the full effect of all the overlap on this. So it's got a bit of a rough idle. So I had it at 1,000 RPM as the idle speed. Anyways, he had it for lots of freaking miles. The odometer says 168. I don't recall what it said when we put it in there. I think it was like 68. something like that. So it had a lot of miles on it. It finally spun a bearing. The turbo was bad too. So he brought it back to, well, he went to where I was, right, which is here. And we built him a 2.3 liter, same heads because everything was fine, and put a fresh GTX3071R Gen 2 on it. And I think with that, it's going to be a really good combination. So, without talking anymore about the car, I'm going to get to tuning it. I've done a few things already. I worked on some startup stuff, worked on the filtering of the map signal and the RPM signal. Now, on cars like this, luckily Link has the option to change the filtering for map and RPM. If you don't do that, what will happen is you'll have these really large swings. Sorry, this guy's a fucking idiot. Let me text him real quick. It is. Base timing is saying you're adding 24. The base was 13. But please go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. I will finish the tune on the dyno. Stop critiquing shit you don't understand. God, you're a fucking idiot. You know how your own fucking system works? I'll fucking block this motherfucker in a second. I'm not gonna waste time, I'm just gonna do it now. Stop communication. Block. Fuck you, Chris from Speedy EFI. You're a fucking idiot. Alright. Anyways, fuck that guy. Fucking come at me, you stupid cunt. Okay, let's see. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so you get to dampen the signals, right? So if you don't dampen the signals on something with big cams like this, the map sensor fluctuates a lot. And when it does that, you get high delta maps. And delta map is put into several calculations, and it could totally screw your stuff. So delta map is involved in wall wetting, and if the wall wetting, if the delta map is too rapid and moving around, then the wall wetting might trigger when you don't want it to, or give you an unrealistic number. It's used for closed loop control. Sometimes what it'll do is it'll disable the O2 sensor or any updates to the closed loop trim when you have large map swings, because it knows you're injecting fuel for tipping and that kind of stuff. It can affect idle control. It can affect a few things based on what ECU you're in. And so if the map delta is too high, then it'll trip you out of certain, routines or into other routines, which could cause issues. Now, this one I've got a high filter, I think, and I think it might be a smidge too much. I might need to dial it back to a medium filter for the map, because now it's late to tip in some. But what was happening before is that the map was so high that it wouldn't even go closed loop for me. And that's a problem, right? If I have everything enabled, then it won't go closed loop. But yet, for some reason, it won't go. And I find out, you can look on here, if you look at this point on the bottom right of this little window right here, with my face under it, I don't know. This window, oh, you can't see the window. Mother bitch. Okay, let's see if I can capture that window for you with OBS, because I think this is important. This window is very important. It's actually a really good window. And hopefully it'll pop up all the time. Runtime. So I want it to catch. It's not catching it. It doesn't even see it. Well, that's not going to work. Now is it? Window. Oh, fudge. Ha! The one time I don't swear, I say fudge, right? And I've been swearing like a freaking sailor before that. Capture specific window. This one. Let's try that. Does that work? No, it did not. Crap! I want you guys to see this window. It's the runtime window. That didn't work either. It's the runtime window, and it's it shows all the updated stats and everything. So I'm trying to catch that, but for some reason it is not working. Alright, so we'll do it differently then. We're going to go display capture, and we're going to catch my display. And we're going to move that to the top. That didn't work. Move to the top. Alright, we're going to put that just below me. Oops, it stuttered on me. Right there, and then when I leave this window, you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so we'll go back to link. Alright, here we go. Watching the stream on my phone here, make sure that's accurate. Alright, there we go. So if you hit F12, bloop, the runtime window pops up. Now this window has all the calculations, it has everything in the fuel, it has it divided by sections. So fuel, you can see the main fuel items, which is when the fuel injected, what's the VE at the point in question, what's the duty cycle, what's effective pulse width, what's actual pulse width, what's dead time. Well, if you look at dead time and effective, add those together, you get actual. That's what that's saying. So one of the dead time would be the latency based on battery voltage, and then effective would be how much fuel I'm saying I need 1.1 milliseconds of fuel, and I'm actually injecting 2.2, or I'm actually triggering the injector for 2.2. Injection timing 440. Some people run 400, some people run less. That can have a big effect on how well a car runs. I have it pretty advanced right now because big injectors tend to like it pretty advanced. But this cam overlap might create some issue with that as the fuel is done being injected before the intake valve opens. And so that means the fuel now sits in the port in the back of the valve. Intake valve opens, I'm in overlap, there's manifold vacuum, there's pressure in the exhaust, and it blows the fuel backwards into the manifold. Now that may not sound like that's a good idea, but it actually can help if you do that because it lets the fuel absorb heat and atomize. But you can go too far, you can go not far enough, that kind of thing. So you can mess with it and see how it affects your idle quality. Right now, if I change it, I'm pretty sure nothing is going to change if I do that. Oops, nope, not this one. La 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 la. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Check the timing. Here it is. So I got your timing. If I say 360, and 360 means that the injector now fires 360 degrees from TDC on the combustion stroke. So that means at the very start of the intake stroke, the injector has finished its pulse. Now, what that means in this case, with the way this cam opens, I think, like 12 or 15 degrees before top dead center. So the intake valve is open and fuel is still injecting for a few more degrees. So now I'm blowing fuel into an exhaust stream that's coming up the port. And that's not a bad way to do it either. It just depends on how big the injectors are and how much overlap you have and that kind of stuff. If this engine had no overlap at all, because it had ABCS and idle, you can pull almost all the overlap out. With only everything but the largest cams, you can pull out all your overlap with ABCS. So if I have huge injectors in it with a massive port, or massive impact factor, which means that there's a lot of fuel hitting the port walls and that kind of stuff, then I would inject the fuel like 440 and let it sit there. And then when the intake valve opens, the exhaust valve is already shut, so we're not pumping much exhaust into the intake. You're getting a little bit because cylinder pressure is going to be a little higher than manifold pressure just for a split second, but it isn't the same quantity or rush that you get when you have overlap. So then the intake valve opens and most of it gets pulled in relatively soon, whereas when you get a lot of overlap, you're puking fuel back up and that kind of stuff. So what's interesting though is you see that I did that, my trim didn't change much. You saw a momentary change in trim. Now whether that was because the ECU skipped an injection event or what, I couldn't tell you that. If I do it again back to 440, we get a little swing. Yeah, sorry man, I only did it for 20 seconds, so so I guess it's a couple percent. It's a couple percent difference. So what was it? It was around 5-ish, and now we're looking at 2 to 3. So what does that mean? It means that all the fuel I'm putting in wasn't getting in there, doesn't it? If I had a 5% trim before. But I do have a little more instability than I had before, so maybe the answer is right in the middle. So we'll shoot for 400 and see if our stability goes up any. Let it stabilize and that kind of stuff. So get a little bit of stability improvement maybe with some swings. But again, overlap, big cams, big injectors. That's just kind of what's going to happen at these slower engine speeds. And reduced displacement. This is only a 2.3 liter versus the 2.5. The shorter stroke, the bigger bore, you know, that combination creates an engine that doesn't operate as efficiently at idle. But man, once you get off idle, these things really are just an awesome engine. So without any more of that idle stuff, let's get into tuning it. So I do want to find, I always forget where it's at because the G4X, they changed a bunch of things, and so I forget where the filter is for map. Analog inputs, map. Filter, yeah, I have it on high. So I'm going to turn that down to medium. Now what you'll see immediately if you look, you see I have it covered up, so you won't see shit. Right here, you look at map pressure, negative 5.1. What I can also do is I can go to analog. I can see map voltage changing around, but if I go to this part here, map delta. So this is the change in manifold pressure for every 100 milliseconds, and you see how crazy that is. That's really flashing around. If I change this to low, see numbers even bigger, right? Like almost an order of 10 higher, and that creates issues with controls of things like I described earlier, like closed loop control, that kind of stuff. High, if I go to high, boom, look at that. That map delta drops down. It's extremely stable, and that's really cool because the engine technically is stable, but there is map swings. The problem with that is when I tip in now, that map signal is damped too much, and I lose some of my tip-in crispiness. Where here, if I do it, it's definitely crispier. It feels better on there. If I go to the lowest, sometimes it's pretty crispy, but then I have all kinds of other issues. So I'm going to try it on medium and make sure I don't have any issues with other routines, like closed loop control and that kind of stuff. Struman, what's up?
I just haven't heard it moving a little bit, so I was coming to check on you.
Oh, I was fucking with injection timing and map filtering and that kind of stuff to make things get crispier and work better. So I had it really damp before, and it was causing issues with tip-in. I'd tip in, and the air fuels would go really lean immediately and then fall rich because it was delaying the wall wetting. So trying to have medium is difficult to do on a car that's got bigger cams and overlap and that kind of stuff. So
Got it.
I was just trying to find it.
Kylie's engine's running.
Nice.
Yep, sounds good.
Nice. Glad to hear. And then I was
Fired right
Chris
up.
sending me more shit. Dude, it's just fucking high, man. Dude, shut the fuck up. I just blocked him. I was like, stop fucking messing with me. You know what the fuck you're talking about. Fuck out of here. I didn't ask you to evaluate a fucking tune on some shit, you dumbass.
No, he's defensive.
No one bagged on him.
I know.
No one talked any shit about him.
I don't know why.
I'm gonna talk shit about now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bash the fuck out of him every chance I get. Fuck that guy.
Yep.
I didn't talk any shit. Car showed up. I worked on the tune. I made it better. The car leaves. Now the guy's blowing me up going, well, why'd you do this? And I don't think that's safe. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You got the car idling at 10 to 1 AFRs.
I was just telling Chase, I was like, I set base timing on my old small block at like 26.
That's a lie, but yeah. I mean, it's not
But it was
damaging
fine.
high.
No.
Yeah, it's not damaging high. Yeah.
It started a little hard, but it, like, off throttle, like, crispiness was so much better.
Yeah.
You didn't have to wait for weights or anything like that. It was already, like, there.
Yeah. For
And then
sure.
I think it had, like, a high of, like,
so.
maybe 36 or something.
That's what we do here. So, like, with the ignition timing, you know, during tip-in, you got to have, I really wish I'd do it. You got to have some timing on it when you tip in, right? So right here, this spot is 22.
Mm-hmm.
EJ's like around 22 to 25 degrees, right? So I get some response. If you take that to where like it was from before, like 10, then it
Yeah,
goes,
it takes longer to get there.
and then it comes up, yeah. And obviously I can do the whole cell because it turbulates all that shit. But, yeah.
No, that's why I did mine. Especially with like an auto, and I had a pretty low stall converter.
Yeah.
Like it was really lazy at 10 to 16 degrees or so. So I bumped it up until I thought it was good, and I thought it was like 26 or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, what's hilarious about this fucking Chris dude messaging me, when you're based at 17, he wasn't showing the idle time map, he was showing the base time map. I'm like, I thought you programmed these things, bro. Like, if you're so fucking good, don't you know how your own timing strategy works? No, he doesn't, because he's not programming it.
Yeah.
He's using somebody else's strategy on the ECU and flashing on a chip. He ain't a fucking programmer, he ain't a fucking genius, none of that shit that he claims that he is.
And Isaac does all that stuff on the back end.
So then what the fuck does that dude do then? That's all right, we're live. You don't gotta say anything.
That's fine.
If he's a friend of yours, I don't want to be like bashing him too much.
No, I don't.
Apologize.
Like I know.
I
haven't had to deal with him that way.
I'm just irritated. The motherfucker starts coming in at me like he knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Anyone can have any opinion they want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Weird. My car runs good on my tune, runs like shit on yours. Fuck you.
It bugs me that he keeps messaging you.
Dude, I told him just drop it. Like, I'm not wasting more time on it. And he keeps saying messages, well, look at this, and what about this, and blah, blah. Well, how about this? You don't know what we're talking about. That's what that is.
It's all good.
Go away. Like right here. This looks like I have 24 degrees of timing on here. But I don't. Because this is the base time map. It's not the idle time map. The idle time map is different.
And you're in idle right now.
Idle time map is 13 degrees.
Yep.
Like, come on,
it's
dude.
not even that high.
No, it's not. These, from the factory, most EJs are around 15 or 16.
Well, I'm just saying, if I had never tuned a Subaru, I would try to get a hold of a factory map and go through what they did with it.
Yeah. Well, if you ever watch a Subaru idle, the timing will hit 30 fucking degrees while it's idling. As it dips, it corrects. It does this. It's got a very high derivative, so it goes up and down a ton. And as it sees RPMs change, the derivative tries to stop the change, and so it throws much timing at it. So it sees the faster the rate is in the downward trend, the more it throws positive at it. So when you get a car like this on the factory ECU, it'll go 30 fucking degrees and shit. He's like, 30's too much. Like, oh my god, it ain't running at 30 degrees. It's not actually there. And that's only if it's got a huge dip would it ever go there. And it's not going there.
Well, and that's commanded, not what it's actually doing too, right?
Yeah, because commanding is what it's doing because it's the crank has 30-something teeth on it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a range as the velocity changes, the crank, but in between teeth, you still got a pretty good idea what it is. If it was the NA trigger that had 6 teeth on it, then yeah, that could be off, 15 degrees.
Yeah.
If the crank was
it's
slowing
commanded
down
30, but it never got there because it was so quick.
Right.
Well, it commanded 30, it got to 20, and then already started pulling it back out again.
Right. It could be all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
got it. How's the Lambda doing?
Good.
I wired it in correctly?
Yeah, it's working fine. It's working good. So you see a time here wiggle? This is actually
I had to completely redo it. Not that it was Tanner's fault. It just the way that it was set up in the Z, I had to like unpin everything and cut shit to get it out.
Yeah.
Because he pinned it all in car. He ran the wires and then pinned the plugs on.
Sure.
So, not his fault. Just something I had to do.
Who was that? Matt Mass. Who was that? I'm talking about Chris from SpeedDFI. I don't even know what he does there, honestly. But he just sent me a message out of the blue. Like you may have heard me say, a guy came by yesterday. I looked at his car because he asked me, "Is my tune safe?" I said, "No, it's not. It's got 20-something degrees of timing at 20 pounds of boost. Like, that's not safe." And then the AFR curve, or the VE curve, was dropping as the load went up dramatically. And I'm like, that's not good fueling. Like, that's not good. So just bring the car by, dude, and we'll get you set up with a schedule for a dyno appointment. But I'll give you a base map while you're here. So I spent like 5 to 10 minutes adjusting some basic shit to help the car run better and be safer. It was idling at 10 to 10.8 to 1. You know, it was just all over the fucking place, and it didn't sound healthy. It didn't sound good. So I leaned out the mixture at idle. I richened it up in boost because the customer told me he was getting like 12 to 1 AFRs, and an EJ with 12 to 1 AFRs at 18 or fucking even at 14 pounds of boost with 20 plus degrees of timing is not gonna be a happy EJ. It's plain and simple. So I gave him a nice timing curve, and also that, but the timing was blocks, right? It was 30, 20, 15 for entire load cells. That's not what an EJ likes. Like, nowhere would you find an EJ time map that works like that. Every EJ factory time map starts low and ramps aggressively towards redline. And so, you know, that's what I did. I started low and I ramped it towards redline. And even then, it was still, I put it much lower than it would be at the dyno tune because it needs to be safe in case the AFRs aren't correct, right? So I gave the guys some ramps. I enabled some features that were turned off, including the idle timing control, some post-start stuff, manifold air temperature stuff, a bunch of shit that wasn't even enabled that should have been enabled in the first place. And the customer gave me a shout out online. "Hey man, I appreciate Dominic for helping me out with my CDFI tune." And then this other guy freaked out, and he didn't say Chris did a bad job. He didn't say anything like that, right? And this Chris guy that I guess was e-tuning it for him starts fucking messaging me because he messaged the other guy. "Let me see your tune. Let me see what he did." "Oh, well, all these things are wrong," you know, kind of stuff. That just doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And I said, "Look, dude, you have no place critiquing my tuning. I saw what you left on that car." "Well, you know, the AFR was waving around, so how was it supposed to be?" Like, well, you know, regardless of AFR, you can set the fucking timing right. You can set the tip in right. You can set the closed loop idle control right. You can set all these other things right, and you didn't. So you're not qualified to critique my tuning. Besides that, what the fuck are you doing? Like, leave me alone. You know, some dude just out of the blue starts asking me questions about shit. I'm like, "Who the fuck are you? I don't know who you are." So they got somebody being really hostile. Like, "Well, how about this? Next time you email somebody, start with a greeting. 'Hi, I'm Christmas BDFI,' and then provide an intent. 'I was helping so-and-so with his tune. I have some questions if you have time.'" I said, "I promise you'll get a better response than just out of the blue saying, 'Hey, what you did here is excessive. I don't know why you did that.'" Like, fuck you, dude. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, "Well, you know, the pistons fail at 120,000 miles. I'm like, what the fuck does that guy do with idle timing? You know, well, you know, a little bit will make a big difference over the long run. I was like, "Dude, just go away. Just leave me alone." "Well, what about this?" And starts, I was like, "Dude, go away. Leave me alone." And it's fine. Like you guys saw, I just blocked him. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, sorry, you did a shitty job. Nobody bashed you. I did a good job, and the customer was happy and said, "Hey, Dominic helped me out." And he only did that because some other assholes out there have been telling people at car shows that I don't tune anymore, right? They know they can't insult my ability, so they're telling people that I don't tune anymore, that they should tune my car instead. So I asked the guy, "Hey man, would you do me a favor? Just give me a shout out online, and so people know that I'm still tuning, right? Like, give me a shout out, people, I'm still tuning, so that those rumors that I'm 3 months out or I don't tune anymore can be, you know, squashed." And so he did that, and the other dude like freaked out. And the guy never once said anything. He didn't tell anyone who tuned his car before. Nothing. Oh, fuck, COVID. Like, he didn't tell anybody that there was anything wrong with the car, that the guy did a bad job. He just said, "Thanks to Dominic for helping me out and getting me on the schedule." Like, that was it. So this other dude has got some serious fucking insecurity issues or something. And I don't know. And then he started telling me that transmissions don't like running without oil. And I'm like, yeah, dude, no shit. Well, I don't know, just dumb shit. Trying to justify why he was critiquing my stuff. Why 30 degrees of timing in idle is bad. It ain't 30 degrees, bro. It's fucking 13. And when it sees a transient, it's allowed to add up to umpteen degrees under a negative transient to help push the idle up. But guess what? It ain't ever getting that low because the quick ramp shortly off of target idle will push the engine back up in RPM. It'll never fucking see 40 degrees. Not that he would watch my videos anyways, but holy fuck. Alright, so enough of that. There's your daily dose of drama. I'm going to lock the speed at 25 miles an hour now that the tires are all flat spotted in that car. So I'm going to lock the speed at 25 miles an hour. And I'm going to work on the VE map here, so you're going to see shit move around here on the right. Now, that's ignition. I don't need that. We need to go to fuel table. We'll go to the active fuel table. I have two fuel tables on this. One you see is inactive. That one's for idle. On big cam cars or on individual throttle body cars, sometimes it's very advantageous to put a separate fuel table for idle. What's this? Cars like run out of fuel. Dude, crazy. Was that Dotson? No. Paul, this was the guy that makes the Speedy EFI. It's one of the guys that works with Speedy EFI. Chris something. I don't even know. And, I wish him well. I wish him the best in all his fucking endeavors and that kind of stuff. Just don't fucking come at me like you're going to take my shit when you're the one that fucked up in the first place. And nobody fucking brought him up or talked shit about him. Nobody brought him up. Chris Cashian, I think it is. Like that. No one said anything. Like, get the fuck out of my inbox, bro. Out of my fucking inbox. I don't need your shit. Fuck. Alright, so anyways, I got two fuel maps on here. When you have a map that bounces around, or a lot of overlapping cars, what will happen is you'll hit load cells near idle with the car operating or the tires turning or something that aren't even close to what you need for fuel at idle. So if you tune it for fuel at idle in those load cells, then you get going, you get close to that load cell, come down in low loads, then all of a sudden the fuel's way off. And it's a strange phenomena that I have found works really good at just making a fuel map for closed throttle. Holotech, I believe, calls it no load. No load timing, no load fuel. We do that. But just having a separate table for that is okay. Now, the table that I have, this one here, if it ever switches, is gigantic. There's no need for the table to be this big. Eventually, I will cut the ends off this table. I'm really only using this area in that table at all. That's all I'm using. Because I have it turned off outside of any parameters that would get you anywhere else on that table. So I can trim that table up, but it doesn't freaking matter right now, so there's no point. I'm trying to be efficient with what I'm doing here. Obviously, talking a bunch doesn't help with the efficiency thing, but it is what it is. So here we are again. Now, we're not here. Like, we're not on this fuel table. We're not putting 64% VE on it at idle. But if I was rolling and I start hitting these other zones, then for some reason they want to see that. Also, if you have a car with this lumpy map like I have, the map sensor, I'm waiting for wall wetting to see a change in map pressure before it'll squirt. But if my TPS leaves 0 and it switches to this other fuel map, which you can see is the VE is immediately 10% higher, so it makes the